The author says, rahimahullah ta'ala, فَتَقُولُ. So you therefore say, صَانَ, صَانَا, صَانُوا, صَانَتْ, صَانَتَا, ثُنْ, ثُنَّ, ثُنْتَ, ثُنْتُمَا, ثُنْتُم. I'm applying غُنَّة. I'm doing إخفاء, hiding the noon and making a غُنَّة, which is fine outside of the Quran, is recommended in the hadiths. Sunt, sunti, suntuma, suntun, suntu, tunna. So, sauna, as you know, its origin is sawana, meaning fa'ala. Okay. Then what happened? انقلبت الواو alifan. The wow flipped into an alif. لتحركها, because of the vowel that it had, وانفتاح ما قبلها, and the fatha before it. So it became fauna, and it maintains its wazn of fa'ala. And you know, huwa is the damir, the doer of this act. Every act needs a doer. Every action needs an actor. Every doing needs a doer. لكل فعل فاعل. That's حكم عقلي. That's intellectual judgment. Here, the Arabic language coincides with the intellectual judgment. صَانَا, same thing. As you know, the alif is the damir. So that's a complete sentence. Fi'l and fa'il. That's a subject and a predicate. All of these are. And you know, this alif here corresponds to huma. It's not huma, it's alif. Corresponds to thanu, same thing. Yani, thana. But then the fatha went away for the dhamma. Thanu fi'lun madin. It's a past tense. Sanu is a past tense verb. Mabniyun ala fathin muqaddar. It is built with an estimated fath. منع من ظهوره اشتغال المحل بالحركة المناسبة. What prevented that fatha from appearing is the spot being occupied with a more appropriate vowel, which is the dhamma in this case, because it's most appropriate for the wow. But, and we did say before, ishtighal wal mahal, the spot being occupied. Ishtighal is occupation, shughul, busyness. The mahal is the makan. Mahal means makan. Ishtighal wal mahal, the spot being occupied. This is only one instance of that. It's usually the first one you're going to learn. So we're going according to the way that this fi'lun madin is mabniyun ala fatih. Now I want to ask a question, but I feel like the answer is too easy. My question would be, what's the other saying? And then you should say, the other saying is that it's mabni ala dhamm, because the dhamma is right there. But had I said that other saying first, inshallah, I would definitely ask you about the other saying, meaning, had I started with you saying, Sanu mabniyun ala dhamm, it's built with a dhamma or built with a dhamm. That's the way that's in Qatrun Nada. Then I would, inshallah, say to you, what's the other way to say it? And then you're going to tell me, Fathun Muqaddar. I hope you remembered that, inshallah. Okay. So why I started the way I did start, because we learned that this is the stronger way. So, والواو ضمير متصل. The wow is a suffixed pronoun. في محل رفع. In the nominative slot. Yani it's the subject of the sentence. Wow is the doer and the verb is sana. The doing is sana. Sanu. والألف فارقة. And the alif is a differentiator. This alif tells you the difference between this wow and another wow. Also, keep in mind, alif al-fariqa has other appearances not only after this wow. So that's alif al-fariqa. You've seen her before and maybe you didn't recognize it. Okay. And this wow corresponds to whom? Feel free to ask at any time, please. Sonnet. Now I have a question for you. This ta in sonnet, is it a dhamir? Is it a pronoun? Ah, well, let me put my headphones in. All right, we're good. Is this ta in sonnet a pronoun? 5, 4, 3. No, it is not a pronoun. Okay. And can someone tell me what it is? Maybe someone knew the answer and didn't want to say. What is this ta? 5.
It's a علامة.
علامة. Correct.
كأنك.
The sign. Ta'u ta'nith as-sakina is an alama. It goes over here too. Alamat. I'll just write alama because I don't have sleep. Sign. Maybe we'll come back to that to remind you. What's the difference between a dhamir, a pronoun, and an alama, a sign? So it's a sign. Then where is the dhamir? Also, the dhamir is a mustatir here. So, Sana has dhamir mustatir. Huwa, veiled pronoun. Sonnet has also dhamir mustatir, veiled pronoun. The ta is not a pronoun. It's a sign that it's feminine. It's the sign for you that its dhamir is here. It's not the ta itself that is the dhamir. As for a sana, that's not dhamir mustatir. That's called what? What kind of dhamir is that? And wow and sanu, what kind of dhamir is that? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bariz. Damirun bariz, an appearing pronoun. Appearing pronoun. The alif is an appearing pronoun. The waw is an appearing pronoun. Ta and sonnet is not a pronoun. It's a sign. And the pronoun is here. Feel free to ask if you want to. Sonata, a sign for femininity. Alamatu ta'nith. No. Sonata. So also, sauna is here. فعل ماضي مبني على فتح ظاهر. Past tense verb built on an appearing fath. And this ta is that same ta. Ta ta'nith. The ta of femininity with the sukoon. This is ta ta'nith as-sakina. The same one, sonnet. So then you should ask, if you don't know, if that's ta'u ta'nith as-sakina, then why is there fatha on there? Why there's a fatha there? Tell me, please. There's a rule. I want you to tell me the rule. 5. I'll give you a hint on the writing here. 4, 3.
Could you clarify the question again, Ustad?
Yes. So here we are on sonata. We're doing the i'rab for sonata. So we said صان فعل ماض past tense verb مبني على فتح ظاهر built with an appearing fatih. Okay, that's done. Sana is done. Now the next thing is a ta. This ta, I told you this is the same ta here. What is this ta here? This is, here's her name. Ta at-ta'nif as-sakina. تاء التأنيث الساكنة. تاء التأنيث الساكنة. So the ta, the unvoweled ta of femininity, the unvoweled ta of femininity, meaning a ta with sukoon. Yani, the sukoon is in her name. A sakina. So I said, if that's the same ta, then you should have a question if you don't already know the answer, which is, how that's the same ta if it doesn't have a sukoon on it, has a fatha on it. My question is, why isn't there a sukoon on the ta'u ta'nithi sakina? That is ta'u ta'nithi sakina. But I said, there's a rule. I want you to tell me the rule. You might tell me something that's not wrong, but I want you to tell me the rule. And hold on one moment, please. And I said, I'll give you a hint in the writing here. So I'm rewriting the hint. Yeah. So now the question is, why is there not a sukoon on that ta? What's the rule?
It's because the letter after it is indicating duality, and hold on.
Here. Okay, I'll just say the answer then. So
Wait, can I?
yes,
ask?
Go ahead, please.
Is it because the rule is you can't have two sukoons together?
Correct. The rule is that you cannot have two sukoons in a row. Here's the rule. منع التقاء الساكنين. منع التقاء. That's not al. It's not the lam for al. The word is iltiqa. Say that lam there. Man'ul tiqa'i sakinain. The prevention of the meeting of two sukoons. Though there are a handful of cases in Arabic where two sukoons can meet. So those are some rules there. We have 4 rules here. The rule of the occupied space, the rule of meaning. There's broader application for alif al-fariqah. What is an alama? And the preventing the meeting of two sukoons. Okay. So because we have to prevent the meeting of two sukoons here, then the sukoon of the ta is covered by fathah. Fathah that must come along with the alif anyway. Yani, let me say actually, because we cannot have two sukoons in a row, then there needs to be a haraka there to prevent the meeting of two sukoons. That's first thing. Tell me, please, what's the original haraka for preventing two sukoons meeting? What's the original haraka for preventing the meeting of two sukoons? 3, 2, 1. It's kasra. Kasra is the original haraka for preventing the meeting of two sukoons. Why is the fathah here, though? Because the sakin that's coming after the ta happens to be an alif. Yani, we have 2 sukoon letters, sakin letters in a row. Ta'u ta'nith is sakina, which has sukoon, this sign. And alif. Alif has a sukoon, this letter. So they came back to back. So we must put a vowel on the first one. That's the rule. You put the haraka on, or rather, sorry. Not the rule is you put the haraka on the first one. The rule is you remove the first sukoon. Remove it. Removing the first sukoon. It might even result in removing the entire letter. Here it's not going to remove the entire letter because the letter came for a purpose. The ta came for its femininity. We need to keep that letter. We brought it in the first place, so we're not going to remove it after we brought it. But we're just going to remove its sukoon. When 2 sukoons meet, the first one goes away. In this case, has to be a fathah because the second letter after the ta is an alif. Okay. And then the alif here. This alif here. It is the same alif as this one. All the way over here. Sana. The same alif. So you might say, how is the same alif when sana is masculine and sanata is feminine? The answer is because the femininity is not in the alif. It's in the ta. What's in the alif? The duality. It's the duality that's in the alif, not the femininity. So we needed a sign. In fact, for sonnet, same thing. The verb was sana. So we needed a sign for the femininity, so we brought a ta. Okay. So then, as you can see, sonata is a combination of sana and sonnet, or like one. Like a combination of sana and sonnet. Took the ta and the alif. Okay. And the alif is the fa'il. Sunnah. So what happened? It was sana. And then we wanted to add the noon. That right there is explaining for you the shadda on the noon. Here. So the question is, what happened to the alif? And from where did the dhamma come? And the answer should be clear from the previous lessons. That it was upon the wazn of fa'ala. Sawana. And then the waw flipped into an alif. But then when we wanted to attach the pronoun, we knew the pronoun was going to demand of us to put a sukoon on that last letter there. And that's going to happen after we already flipped the middle letter. When we flip the middle letter, it's going to start having sukoon on it. But before we flipped that middle letter, we made a contingency and we actually turned fa'ala into fa'ula so that we can prove that there was a wow here that we're going to erase. And that dhamma is on actually the letter that we're going to erase. So how are we going to bring the proof for something that we're going to erase and then erase the proof too? So we're not going to erase the proof too, so we're going to slide it over so that the first letter becomes with the dhamma and then the second letter becomes with sukoon. Now we can flip this second letter safely and then omit it. When we omit it, then the first letter is going to connect right to that last letter. That last letter is going to connect right to that noon, which is the pronoun. So look, it became clear then that sunnah, what's the pattern of sunnah? Is qulna. That's the wazn there. Qulna. Meaning the ayn is gone, the middle letter. Since this word happens to end with a noon, then when we wanted to bring the noon, that's the women's noon, then they merge together. So imagine then, if there's a word like that, it ends with the ta, and then we want to bring the ta for enta, for example, then they're just going to merge together. Is that clear?
Naam.
Yes, Sheikh. But I wanted to ask, is this the naql?
Moving the haraka over is the naql.
Oh, that's the hadith.
The hadith, yes.
Okay.
Erasure, omission. We have naql, we have hadith, and we have qalb. All these things are happening in our sarf. Naql is the relocating. Hadith is the erasing or erasure or omission. Qalb is the flipping. We flipped the waw into an alif. Then we hadafnaha, then we erased it. Wa naqalna ad-dhamma, and we transported or relocated the dhamma. Then that's what happened in sunta, like sunnah, except that it's not going to merge because it's a ta. And suntuma and suntum, all the same here. Now I'm summarizing. Sunti, suntuma, suntunna, suntu, and sunna. Also, why there's a merger there? Because the verb ends with a noon, and then the pronoun we are attaching is na, starting with the noon. So the noons merge. Thunna. وَتَقُولُ فِي الْيَاءِ, and you say when it's a ya'i, ba'a, ba'a, ba'u. Same thing, except all what we did with the dhamma, because of the waw, we're going to say kasra and ya. Ba'a, ba'a, ba'u, ba'at, ba'ata, bi'na. There's no merger here because ayn and noon are not the same letter. As in sunna, bi'na. Why we came up with the kasra? Because the original letter in this case was a ya. We want to prove the letter that we erased. Bi'ta, bi'tuna, bi'tum, bi'ti. MashaAllah. My mouth wanted to do ikhfa shafawi right there, naturally, or maybe by habit. Bi'tum, bi'ti. That's correct Arabic anyway. بعتما بعتن بعت بعنا.
باع يعني هو. باعا هما. باعوا هم. باعت هي. باعتا هما. بعنا هن. بعت أنت. بعتما أنتما بعتم أنتم بعتي أنت. بعتما أنتما بعتم بعتن أنتن. بعت أنا وبعنا نحن. So, inshallah, that's all clear for you. You know that in the case of ba'a, you have ضمير مستتر, veiled pronoun or built-in pronoun. There is not a pronoun pronounced when you say ba'a. Ba'a, you know that's the alif is the pronoun, not huma. Rather, huma is the corresponding pronoun, the one that corresponds to the alif. The alif is the pronoun. Ba'u, the wow is the pronoun. Ba'at is a case of damir mustatir. You need this word. If you don't know this word, and you are now consistent in the sarf classes, so know this word. Damir mustatir. ضمير مستتر, veiled pronoun. It's like a pronoun behind the satr, behind the veil. And I give you an example in English, such as go. There's a ضمير mustatir here. Here, the ضمير mustatir is you. You don't have to say it. Go. So when you say ba'at, that ta is not the ضمير, the pronoun. It is not the pronoun. That ta is a sign. That ta is a sign. Sign for the femininity. When you say ba'ata, the alif is the pronoun. The ta is a sign, the sign of femininity. That's the same ta here. That ta is a sign of femininity, not a pronoun. Birna, you know, the noon is the pronoun. Noonun niswa, the women's noon. Or you can say noonun nisa, the women's noon. And hunna is the corresponding pronoun. Yani, when we say huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, and we're going to say down here, anta and ana and nahnu, those are called what? ضمائر منفصلة. ضمائر منفصلة, disconnected pronouns. And these ones, the alif, the waw, the noon, the ta, etc., those are called ضمائر. I already wrote the word ضمائر. متصلة, suffixed. Suffixed pronouns. Mutasila means connected. I'm saying suffixed because they only come on the back. Okay. And you know what happened to the ya? How the ya flipped into an alif? And you know what happened to the wazn? It was fa'ala, and then it became fa'ila, because we were preparing it to erase that middle letter, but to leave a proof for it when we connect the pronoun. Anyone tell me that's not clear for you so I can clarify it for you, please? Okay. Now, all of that was what? المبني للفاعل. المبني للفاعل. So here we have a review. المبني للفاعل versus المبني للمفعول. This means, yani, if I get right to the technical translation, it means مبني للفاعل means active voice. And مبني للمفعول means passive voice. But if I were to translate the words, then active voice means, and this really is what it means, it means configured, the verb that is. The verb is configured for the doer. And passive voice is configured, the verb is configured for the receiver. Active voice is the origin. يعني المبني البناء للفاعل. To be configured for the doer, that's the original way a verb would be. What they mean by active voice in English, I don't know how they define it themselves. Actually. So what it means is that the doer of the act is the subject of the sentence. The doer of the act is the subject of the sentence. That's the original way a sentence is supposed to go. The doer of the act is the subject of the sentence. So you say, ضرب زيد. So Zaid struck. Subject and predicate. Who's doing the striking? Zaid. So the subject is the doer of the act. That's what active voice really, really means. I don't know what they say, to be honest with you. Passive voice is like to say, and we have to now reconfigure the verb. ضرب زيد. Now it means Zaid was struck. Was struck. So who's doing the striking? He is not mentioned here. The striker is absent from the sentence, the doer. Then who's the subject of the sentence? The receiver is. So it became mabniyun lil maf'ul. The verb became configured for the receiver. So that's al-bina'u lil fa'il wal-bina'u lil maf'ul. A quick recap for you. If you have a question, feel free, please. Because now we want to talk about this for the ajwaf. So let's read what the author has for us. Also, if you are taking notes or anything from what I'm writing on the board or the screen, if I'm going too fast and you need me to leave something so you can finish writing it or something like that, let me know, please. So all of what we said was for al-mabni lil fa'il, active voice. Yani, when we said ba'a and sana, these verbs were configured for the doer. How do you configure these verbs for the receiver? The author says, وَإِذَا بَنَيْتَهُ لِلْمَفْعُولِ. And when you configure it for the receiver, كَسَرْتَ الْفَاءَ مِنَ الْجَمِيعِ. You will give the first root letter a kasra in all cases. فَقُلْتَ. And you therefore would say, sin, sina, ila akhirihi. Yani instead of sana, sina. وإعلاله بالنقل والقلب. وبيع instead of باع بيع. وإعلاله بالنقل. So then you're going to say sina instead of sana. إلى آخره, meaning throughout, yani, etc., throughout the rest of its stages, its morphology stages. وإعلاله, and let me say, if you will, its transformation was by relocation and flipping. يعني إعلاله, the reason for its change, that's what it means. There's reasons for change, like naql, relocating the haraka, and qalb, flipping the letter into another letter. So, if you want, we could say reason for change. Its reason for change is by relocation of a vowel and flipping of a letter. That's for sina, which is coming from sana, which is coming from originally sawana. And therefore, so we got from sawana to sina. How did we get from sawana to sina? There was naql, vowel got transported, yes, and qalb, a letter got flipped. A vowel got transported and a letter got flipped. Wabi'a, but as for bi'a, which is coming from ba'a, which was originally baya'a, so the ya was already there, so we didn't have to flip any letter here. فَإِعْلَالُهُ بِالنَّقْلِ. Then the reason for its transformation is only by shifting a vowel. Okay, let's see. Okay. So, he said, وَإِذَا بَنَيْتَهُ لِلْمَفْعُولِ كسرت الفاء من الجميع فقلت الصين وإعلاله بالنقل والقلب وبيع وإعلاله بالنقل. So I just looked at my own copy, which something told me to do that. And when I look at my own copy, that means this right here, where it says إلى آخره, is not in my copy, etc. فقلت الصين instead of صانع. وإعلاله بالنقل والقلب وبيع وإعلاله بالنقل. Okay. So I was going to explain for you this. إلى آخره. I can still do it. So when it was مبني للمفعول, here we have both of them right here. You said صانع. So when it was مبني للمفعول, you said صينة. What happened there? Let's see. So the origin of Sina would have to be Suwina. We already said وَإِعْلَالُهُ بِالنَّقْلِ وَالْقَلْبِ. The reason for its transformation is by shifting a vowel and flipping a letter. What happened was, maybe you can see, this kasra here slid over to the sod. Basically, knocked the dhamma out of its position, leaving the waw with a sukoon. So then we have a sod with a kasra, a waw with a sukoon. So what needs to happen here? That wow's not going to stay like that. A waw sakina after a kasra like that? No, you're not going to say soyina. So the wow's going to flip into a ya. And you're going to say sina. So وَإِعْلَالُهُ بِالنَّقْلِ وَالْقَلْبِ. And then sina, sinu, etc. You can do the sarf. You do the sarf. That's practice for you. What about ba' and bi'a? So ba', that's mabni lil fa'il. Configured for the doer. And the configuring it for the receiver would be bi'a. So this bi'a here, it must have been in origin buyi'a. So what happened here? Our kasra on the ya commandeered the ba, effectively knocking the dhamma out of its place, leaving the ya with a sukoon and nothing more. That's all. So that's why he said وَإِعْلَالُهُ بِالنَّقْلِ. The reason for its transformation is sliding over the vowel only. So, any question here? Yes. Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The reason for transformation is sliding the vowel, yes. Or any other word you might like, shifting, relocating, etc. Knuckle, yani, replacing, not, I wouldn't say replace though. Relocating. Or sliding over, hakada. Probably closest translation is relocating. Sina for muthanna, correct. Yani, let's take a look there then. Sometimes I'm in such a hurry. Bismillah. Here. This is mabni lil maf'ul. Seen. What does sana mean in the first place? Anyone remember? But not you, Sayyidi Bilal. Who else is here? What's the meaning of sana? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sana means to protect. He protected. Mabni lil maf'ul. Sanahu. Sana aqidatahu min ar-riddah or an ar-riddah. I don't know if sana goes with min or an better. Though the huruf jar, huruf al-jar are interchangeable. That's the word that's in mukhtasar. One has to yasunu aqidatahu. I don't remember the ibara now. In the chapter of apostasy. Siyana. Siyanatan. Okay. So, صانه, it's مبني للمفعول. When you say, or let me go back to the beginning here. صان مبني للفاعل. Configured for the doer. The verb is configured for the doer. When a verb is configured for the doer, then it means, like I told you, the doer of the act is the subject of the sentence. And also then, the verb can take maf'ul bihi. Maf'ulun bihi. So you say sana, you can say sanahu, he protected it. Sanaha, or him, he protected it, or her. Sanahuma, he protected those two. Like that. Sanuhu. Here. Sanuhu. They protected it. So the wow is the doer. It's fa'il. And the ha is the maf'ul bihi, receiver. They protected it. This is mabniyun lil fa'il. Configured for the doer. Okay. So let's see. Configured for the receiver. Sina. Hua. So what does it mean here? Sina hua. Hua is the pronoun. Here, hua is called, is the meaning first. The meaning is he or it was protected. That's usually how you're going to do passive voice in English. Was protected, or like this. And here, hua is not called fa'il, it's not doer. The doer is not mentioned in this sentence here, Sina. The doer is unnamed. That's why another name for this is mabniyun lima lam yusamma fa'iluhu. That's another name for this case here. Configured for an unnamed doer. Configured for an unnamed doer. Or unidentified if you want. Configured for an unidentified doer. Sina hua means he was or it was protected. So hua here is not fa'il, it's not the doer. The doer is unnamed. So hua is what? It's called here na'ib fa'il. I'm not going to dwell on this part too long here. I just want to tell you the name of its position. Na'ib fa'il, replacement doer. Or I saw some okay translations actually. This is what's coming to my mind quickly here. Replacement doer, vice doer. Na'ib is the, like, you know how there's vice president, vice chairman. He's the vice doer, the replacement one, or backup. The doer of the act was removed from the sentence and the receiver took his place. Na'ib fa'il. So, Sina, he was protected. Sina, those two were protected. And just really quickly here, what's this little thing here? This little thing here. Is that a letter there? No, that's part of the sod. Sod is correctly written with a tooth. Don't write sod without a tooth, like many people do. What I know, that's wrong. Not correct. Yani, this is the letter sod here. That little tooth is part of the sod. Sina, those two were protected. Sinu, those three or more males or masculine were protected. Well, it should be though males, like with the wow here means men, or have aql, like humans or jinn or angels, not animals, not inanimate things. And I think I can say from here, etc. You do the sarf, practice for you. So that if you get stuck, you're going to come next week and say to me, I was practicing and I didn't figure this one out here. And that will be so good for you. Sinu lil jama', correct. Do you want to continue asking? I cut you off. Go ahead, please.
Yes. One other question. You said the original harakat for the prevention of the two sukuns meeting is kasra.
Correct.
Can you give me a word as an example?
Yes. For example, Allah Ta'ala says, لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب etc. till the end of the ayah. يكن, what's that? كان يكون. لم حرف جزم. يكن فعل مضارع مجزوم. What's the sign of jazm? Do you know the sign of jazm here? Sign of jazm here is sukun.
Because of the lamb?
Because of lam. Yeah, lam is the jazim.
Okay.
Lam yakun. Lam yalid. Walam yulad. Lam yakun. But what comes after has sukun, which is here. The sukun is here on the lam. Yani, we're going to skip through the alif here. That's hamzatul wasl. So when we get to the lamb, there's sukun on that lamb because there's a shadda. That means there's two lambs there. And the first one has sukun. So that means then there's sukun on yakun, there's a sukun on the lamb here. So how can we pronounce this? By producing a vowel. In this case, kasra. That's the original one to use. An example of fatha is like Allah Ta'ala says, min al-jinnati. Here, the fatha is blocking two sukuns. The word is min, not mina. This word is min. Min is mabniyun ala sukun. Built with a sukun. Where the fatha come from? Because you're going to have two sukuns in a row, if not, for something. So we block those two sukuns by a fatha here. And it's possible to do dhamma now. The example that I learned, I don't remember it.
Barakallahu fika.
Ameen wa fikum. It's mostly going to be kasra. Barakallahu fikum. As for the sign, al-alama, I'll remind you quickly. You say, af'alu, naf'alu, yaf'alu, taf'alu. So that's the first letter is what? Harf mudara'ah. The mudari' letter. The mudari' letter is alama. It's not a pronoun. Rather, the pronoun is dhamir mustatir. You say af'alu taqdiruhu ana. Naf'alu nahnu is the taqdir. There's a taqdir. There is no dhamir bariz here. There's no appearing pronoun here. There's only alama, sign. Yaf'alu huwa. Taf'alu could be hiya or could be anta. And there's other signs too. Ishtighalul mahal. Where you saw that at, other than here, darabu. In the likes of, for example, ummi. You say, if you said ja'at ummi, you know, is mansu, is marfu'. Should be a dhamma. Rafa'. Or if you said ra'aytu, Ra'aytu ummi. I saw. Ummi. Then it's mansub. Where's the fatha? Excuse me. Or marartu bi ummi. I passed by ummi. Majrur. There's kasra there. Is this the same one though? Or that's a different kasra? In all these cases here, basically kasra appropriated that mean. Maybe appropriate's a good word here. I'm saying occupation of the spot. The spot being appropriated by the appropriate vowel. Not appropriated. Look at that. And as for aliful fariqah, where did you see that? You saw that in amongst other places, not only here, in the word mi'ah. Mi'ah, which means 100. What's that alif there? Aliful fariqah. That alif is telling you the difference between this hamza and something else, like a noon. Also appears in other places. Barakallahu fikum. So here we are finished talking about al-mabniyu lil maf'ul for the ajwaf, passive voice for the hollow verb. And the next thing the author wants to talk about is al-fi'lu al-mudari', present/future tense verb. And I thought we will start it today, but I think we should stop. And yani, sometimes I just really have such an inclination to go fast. I need to sometimes slow down. So let's stop here. Any question? I was told, mashallah, that the graduates of the Jami'ah teach swiftly. I think it's the case. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.